Demolisher TV with Sophia Melone. Good morning, good morning, good morning, everyone. I am super excited to be before you all. I am Sophia Melone, the Debt Demolisher, here to bring you the tools, tips, and tricks to help you manage your financial baggage the right way. I am so excited that you guys are here this morning. First of all, I want to wish you all a very, very, very happy new year. We are officially on the first day of the first year in 2022. So I am so excited to be before you all. It has been so long since I've been able to actually be live and interact with you all on a great consistent basis. But you guys know that I put out the announcement that I'm going to be going over my budgeting process. And not only that, I want you to do your budgets with me. One of the things that's most important for us to realize when we are walking into this space of something new, when we are walking into the space of something where we want to transform and change in terms of our finances, we have to take some action towards it. Now, what does that mean? For me, each and every Saturday, and I try to do this every Saturday, the past couple of weeks I haven't had a chance to because I was out of town and I just had a lot going on. But for the most part, when I am going through my budgeting process, this is something that I do each Saturday. I try to do it once a week. Now, when this happens, I give myself different agendas and different things that I want to focus on, because we know that our finances are very, very, very diverse. We know that our finances is something that we can't just tackle all in one day. We have to be able to piecemeal it. So sometimes my budgeting days aren't just around identifying my budgets. I literally go through the process of almost like having an agenda. And I have several items that I may want to cover, several items that I may want to do, but I use one Saturday to focus on one of those things and not all 12 of those things that may be on our list. Now, what I want to do, since we're just getting started, I'm going to go ahead and pop out the chat to see who is in the room. And then we can go ahead and work and jump into the work that we're going to do today. So let me pop out the chat. And if you are in the room, please say hello so that I know that you're here. So that I know that you're here. Okay, pop out chat. All right, let's see. Who do we have? Q Scott's in the building. Good morning, Q Scott. Happy New Year. I'm so glad that you are here. Thank you for setting your timers and getting here. And yes, I'm super excited that you are here. So happy New Year to you. Super excited. Good. Now, here's what and Q Scott, I want you to just kind of, since you're here, and I'm so glad that you're in the room, I want you to just begin to think about what you want to use this time to dedicate it for. Now, I said that this is going to be a working session. So it's not just going to be about me showing you exactly what I do. It's about you going into the space of getting in action on your finances as well. So I want us to be in a space of action. A lot of times we get the education. A lot of times we get the videos. A lot of times we get the resource, but we fail to use it. So what I want to be able to help you all do in this course of actually implementing the things that you learn, because that's what my space is all about. It's about application. I teach because I want you to be able to apply. And if you aren't carving out the time to apply, then maybe I want to change my approach to see how can we do this together so that you can begin to build that momentum to be able to do it in real time. And then that way you can carry on and continue to do it without, necessarily maybe doing it with me. But I want to encourage you all in this journey and encourage you all that this is something that you have to be able to jump into. And I want to create that space to allow you to be able to do that if you feel like, I'm not ready to kind of do this on my own. So I see Sherry is in the building. Sherry is saying Happy New Year. I'm so excited. I hope everyone had a very Merry Christmas. Thank you, Sherry. Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Welcome. I hope that you had a great Christmas as well. As you guys know, I was mentioning earlier that I was out of town and I'm just getting back home. So I'm so excited to be home. It's been like almost 2.5 weeks and I'm like, I'm ready to be home, but I'm so glad to be here. But I did have a great time. I spent the time with my father's side of the family. So my brothers, my nieces and nephew, and my sister-in-law, and we had a good time. We had a good time. So it was good fun. I did get sick, so I was completely under the weather, completely under the weather. And shout out to Acacia, because Acacia had emailed me a remedy to say, hey, maybe you should try this. When I tell you guys, I was so stuffy, my head was hurting. It was just not good. It was just not good. And I was like, I need to get better so I can get on this plane, because, you know, they say, well, you know, if you're feeling sick, you know, don't travel and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I was like, I got to get home. So I got to get better. Okay. All right. So Q Scott is saying happy 2022. Same to you as well, Sherry. Sherry is laughing. And then she's saying, oh, yeah, so it's a struggle. But I'm glad to be back home. Now, before we jump into this piece, I want to talk about the 5 whys, or the five W's, is rather what I'm going to call it. When we think about the budgeting process, you want to think about the who, the what, the when, the where, and I would normally say the who, the what, the when, the where, and the why, right? So that's the 5. So when you think about why you want to budget, when I think about why I want to budget, for me, it gives me the plans and it gives me the time to be able to not only see where I stand, but allow me to not go into a state of overdraft. One of the biggest things that I am very, very, very big on is, number one, not wanting to pay things late, because I want to make sure that I'm staying on top of my payment history so that my credit score can stay in top notch. And then the next piece of that is that I don't want to go into overdraft. Like, I don't want to go into a space where there's a timing difference, where I thought I was going to have enough money to pay for such and such. So I scheduled the payment to go out, but then all of a sudden something else hits the account and I didn't plan properly for it. And so now I'm overdraft because I have a certain amount in my checking account that I use for bills. So that way I could have my, you know, accounts for different reasons. So my main bill account, I literally keep that down to as little as possible, because that's just for my bills. So why I budget is because it helps me to stay on task and stay on point, and helps me to plan for the things that I want. A lot of times we go into the space of wanting to do things or wanting to get into things without necessarily planning for them. And so what budgeting allows me to do is to really help me stay on task with things and actually see where my money is, so I can see, do I need to carry some of this over? Do I need to find a way to supplement the difference that I need? Or am I doing very, very well in my spending patterns and I'm keeping my costs low, that I can do some fun things? I can incorporate some travel. I can incorporate some additional massage times, some travel times, some events. So budgeting allows you to give your money the authority and the placement of which and where you would like to see it. Now, when I think about the next W, is the when. So when do you want to budget? And you get to set your own frequency. So you all may think it's excessive for me to be able to do something related to my finances every week, but that's just what I do, because that's my comfort level. And because I manage 2 households, I had to be very strict on my resources and very intentional about where my money was going. Oh my goodness. Wait, I got to share this with you guys. Y'all know yesterday was actually the 6th year, and really today, because I started my debt freedom journey January 1st, 2016. So that 12-month period normally for me ends on the 31st of each year. So when I got back last night, I went and I checked my numbers, and I have some amazing news. So I'm going to announce it separately, but I was completely floored at the amount of debt that I've been able to pay off in 2021. Now, I've been sharing that 2021 has not been my best year. Like, I feel like I hit the rock bottom of my rock bottoms and my rock bottoms in 2021. But things started to turn around towards the ending of August, September timeframe. And God literally pulled me out of that hole that I was in, or helped me see that light so I can get myself up and pull myself out of that hole. And when I saw the numbers, you guys, I said, how in the world did this happen? How did it happen? How did it happen? So I'm not going to blow my numbers right now because I'm going to do a separate video on that. But when I tell you that I was floored at the amount of debt that I've paid off so far in a 6-year journey, and not only that, how much debt I have paid off in 2021 alone. This is my highest year that I've ever paid off this much debt, because I track it by year every single year. And I'm going to show you guys like my debt payoffs by year so that you can see the amount of debt that was paid off each year and then the cumulative amount. So you guys, get ready for that, because that's going to be so good. Okay, I see some more stuff coming in the chat. Q Scott is saying pretty consistent reconciling receipts and budgeting weekly, but I know I can learn some better techniques from you on how to streamline the process for multiple accounts. Yes, you said something so powerful, multiple accounts. Now I have several accounts, and that's the best way for me to be able to manage my resources, because I have so much going on. I have a whole separate household that I have to manage, which is my mom's, and I don't know what's going to come up there. I don't know when things are going to come up there. So I have financial resources that I'm setting aside each time I'm paid to go into that separate account that's going to just manage the unexpected things that may come up, as well as some of the planned things that may come up for my mom's expenses. And then I have my own spend account for my own bills. And then I have my own savings, different savings accounts, different reserves for purpose-driven needs. So I have an account for one thing, an account for another thing, an account for another thing. So the multiple accounts actually really work. It's a great strategy to refrain from putting everything in one bucket, because when you put everything in one bucket, you have this thought or this notion of, oh, I have so much of this to spend. No, you want to piecemeal it out. You want to separate it so that you can have an account for a specific purpose. And that way, you know exactly where that level is, depending on what that account is going to be used for. So yes, definitely, Q Scott, I have some ideas that I'm going to be sharing, not only to today, but other videos that's going to be coming up on the channel, on the Debt Demolisher TV channel. So of course, Trevesla, please let me know if I pronounce your name correctly. But Trevesla is saying, blessed morning. I'm so excited that you're here. Thank you for jumping in. Super excited that you made it on. Q Scott is saying, congrats. I'm eager to hear the updates on your debt freedom journey. Sherry is saying, yes, I review my budget every week too. It really works. I plan to start including self-care into my budget. Any advice on self-care? Ooh, we're going to talk about that, because that is a must. For me, self-care is a must. And so one of the things that I do for that is I just literally treat it like a budget line item. I have, and I'm going to actually pull it up so that you guys can see it. You all know my budget outline, right? My budget outline template that is available on my website as well. And I talk a lot about how I have like all of my bills listed on one of the tabs. So I have a full listing of expense tab that literally tells me all of the expenses that I have, the month in which, or the day of the month in which it's typically paid, or when it should be paid. And so I have all of this stuff already mapped out, and self-care is actually one of them. So one of the things that I make sure that I do, at least, if not in each paycheck, but at least within that month time frame, that I have a line item for me to do something that's self-care related. So if that means going to a spa appointment, if that means going to just take a short trip to, and it may not cost that much, but if I wanted to do something that may cost a small fee to get in, but it feels like a self-care practice for me, then I can do that. If it's a meditation class that I want to take, then I put that in the budget if I have to pay for this meditation class. So there's different elements that you could do. Just treat it literally like a budget line item and just stick it in there. And Yeah, yeah. So self-care, if it's a massage, if it's getting a facial, you guys, I never got a facial in my life before. My skin, I don't want to say it's sensitive, but I'm very, very picky about the things that I use for my face. So I've never gone and actually gotten anyone to like, because you never know, stuff may break out. And one thing I'm not trying to do is have my face be all jacked up. Okay. Especially because I'm on camera and, I just don't want that. So I'm very, very leery about certain things being on my face. But one of the things that I do want to try is a professional type of facial, because I have my home remedies and stuff that I do at home, but I really would like to see what it feels like to get a facial. So for you, Sherry, an example of that could be getting a facial and or getting a massage or something along those lines. So since we are 25 minutes in, and I know we started a little late, but I want to go ahead and jump into the crux of what we're going to be doing today. So I was talking to you guys about the win. The win is, when are you going to choose to do your budgets? Or when are you going to choose to look at your numbers? Is it going to be on a Saturday morning like myself at 8 a.m.? Is it going to be on a Sunday morning? Is it going to be on a weekday in the evening? You get to choose. Is it going to be twice a week, once a week, every 2 weeks, once a month? You get to choose. Now, when you get to decide what your win is, who is going to budget? Who should budget? You should budget. So if you are a person who are earning income, you should be putting yourself in a space to literally allocate the resources that you have in an effective way, so that it not only works for you today, but that it can work for you tomorrow. Because we all know that we're in a state of fluctuation. There's a lot of highs, there's a lot of lows. We don't know when things are going to change. And sometimes our resources can be at jeopardy. But if you're able to plan what you're getting today, you will be able to save yourself in a future tomorrow. So if you make money, if you earn income, if you receive any source of income, you should be budgeting. When you think about the what you should budget, when I think about the what I should budget, I budget every single source of income that I receive, not just my wages, So also if I get rewards points, I'm budgeting that. If I get a tax refund, I'm budgeting that. If I get a stimulus check, I'm budgeting that. If I get a cash gift from someone, I'm budgeting that. If I get any sales within my business operations, I'm budgeting that on the business side. Let me be clear. So I'm budgeting that on the business side. So any source of income is what I budget. Now, if you get to choose what you want that decision to be for you, you may not want to budget every piece of income that you get. Some of y'all may just want to splurge and just have no limits, no restrictions, no type of structure around maybe tax refunds or different things like that. But I want to challenge you all to really be intentional about every source of income that you get. And then last but not least, where should you budget? This is the fifth W. Where should you budget? You can budget on paper. You can budget in a spreadsheet. You can budget in an app. You can budget on a Google Sheet. I am like a Google Sheet fanatic. I literally build spreadsheets and tools. I have so many spreadsheets and tools. It's ridiculous because I'm very analytical. So I just create off the cuff. So it depends on what I'm doing and what I'm looking at in my finances will cause me to ask myself the question, how can I make this a little bit more streamlined so that maybe I can automate it and do things a lot quicker? So I create worksheets, I create Google Sheets, I put formulas in it, I find a way to get the numbers, I do projections, I do all kinds of stuff. So my budgeting processes on a weekly basis can kind of be, some people may say it's excessive, but that's just what I do because I'm just a numbers person and that's what I do. All right. So now that we've covered the 5 W's, we know who should budget. We know when we should budget. We know what we should budget. We know where we should budget, and we know why we should budget. We want to go into the space of budgeting. So we are almost at the 30-minute mark and we are going to get started. So let me explain to you how today's session is going to work. So today's session is going to allow us to first identify what do we want to work on. So remember I said that your budgeting process may not just be looking at your numbers. It could be looking at last last month's numbers. It could be looking at maybe what your debt balances are as of the ending of last month. It could be getting yourself in a space of identifying all of the bills that you may have to pay in this coming month. So it depends on what you need to look at, but the idea is allowing you to have the space to be able to do that live with me. So normally I have budget projections that I plan out for the entire year. So because I was out of town for the past 2.5 weeks, I normally do that during like the last 2 weeks of December, but because I was out of town, I didn't get to do that. So what I'm going to be doing is focusing on that. That's what my time is for today is really going to be doing, because I already have like my bills. Most of my stuff has actually already been paid up. At least anything that was due between now and the 5th of January has already been paid. So now I'm just waiting for the notifications for the next set of bills that are going to come in, which is why, because I don't have the actuals, I don't know what the bill is actually going to be in terms of utilities and things of that nature. I create my projections so that I can always have my buffer in place. Now, this is going to be different from my spending, my budget outline, because the my budget outline is what I use when I actually get my paycheck. So I haven't received any paychecks in 2022 just yet. So because I haven't gotten any paychecks for this new year, I want to go ahead and work on my projections so that I can have everything, so that I can begin to map out what my buffers and what my projections are going to be for the new year. And once we go into this window, I'm going to show you what this looks like. But first, I want you to identify what you want to focus on. So based on what I've explained, what do you want to focus on? And you can put what you want to cover in the chat, and I can read it off. All right, I see Travessa said, yes, I did. Okay, good. Travessa said, yes, I did pronounce the name correctly. Q Scott is saying, great. I thought I was maybe needing to go back to one. Good to know. Sherry is laughing. Coach Leticia's in the building. Good morning, good morning, good morning, Coach Leticia. Happy New Year to you. I'm so excited that you are here and in the room. Super excited. So everybody is saying hey to Coach. And Q Scott is saying, I need to add projections in my sheet. Yes. Now, y'all already know this, right? Because y'all know y'all was on the Venture Spender Challenge, and y'all know you got your spreadsheets about the projections and adding buffers, and it's the same concept. So it's the same concept that we applied for identifying projections for what we plan to spend for the holidays. You use the same idea to get projections in terms of what you plan to spend on your everyday monthly expenses. So yes, golden nugget, but I'm going to show you guys once we go into the space, once we check in. So since we are now at this point, let me share my screen and I'm going to tell you what you're going to do. You are going to identify what you want to begin to work on. So what is that going to be for you? Now, this is a live training, you guys. So like, I'm not just going to be talking, I'm going to be in here doing the work. So we're going to have our spurts of each of us doing our work, and then we're going to come back, check in, and then we're going to have another spurt, and then we'll close out. So let me go ahead and share the screen so you guys can see the agenda for today. We're getting ready to start our in action time right now. So some of you guys may pop into this live after the fact while we're actually in the work. So if you see us and you see that everybody is quiet, that's because we are in action. So if you're just joining, if you pop in, go ahead and jump into today's agenda. Choose a financial task that you want to tackle, whatever that looks like for you. We're going to work on it for 25 minutes straight. And then after 25 minutes, we're going to come back and check in to see how we are doing. I'm going to address any questions that you may have. I'm going to show you some of my progress, some of the things that I do, what I was working on, and then we'll jump in for another 25 minutes. And then we'll close out. So you can estimate that we'll be on here for maybe an hour and a half, 90 minutes. So if we do this in this spurt, we should be around 90 minutes for today's session. All right. So everyone go ahead and begin to identify what you want to work on. If you have questions, feel free to pop them in the chat right now before we get started. So you should have some form, whatever you want to work on. If you want to work on building your budget for just this month, go ahead. You already know what to do. Get your listing of expenses, get your listing of when you plan to get your income in, your projected pay dates, and start doing the math to work those out. If you want to think about your goal, what goal do you want to set for this particular year? Do you have a savings goal? Do you have something that you would like to achieve? Do you need to do the math to figure out, okay, based on the goal that I want to achieve, how much do I need to set aside in the months going forward to make sure that I'm able to reach this goal? So it could be a strategy, it could be a plan, it could be your actual budgets, it could be updates to your financials so that way you can get to do what you want to do. So for me, I'm literally going to be looking at my last month's data and just updating as much as my system stuff on the back end that can spit out the numbers that I'm going to need to do the projections, which is the sheet that I'm going to show you. So I'm going to start the timer right now. We're going to have 25 minutes to get started. So that means that the timer is going to start right now. And then at the top of the hour, 9 o'clock, we're going to check in. So I hope that you all have a little bit more than an hour to spend with me today, but whatever time that you have is totally fine. Just get into the work right now. So let's jump in. I'm going to start the timer right now, and we will check back in 25 minutes. All right. All right. I don't see any questions. Q Scott saying pulling mine up real time, tweaking mine as well with you. Okay. Right. How much? Okay. Good, Coach Letitia. All right. So let's get started. 25 minutes on the clock. Let me see if I can play a little bit of background music so it's not like too quiet. Let's see what I can do. Okay. All right, you guys, let me know if the music is too loud. I will turn it off. I just wanted to have some background to kind of keep us going. Let me see. I just see a question in the chat. Let me address this real quick. So Sherry is saying my budget for January is done. Just need a better tracking system to see exactly how much debt has been paid off. Any advice? So the best way to kind of look at this, Sherry, is literally going into your debt accounts, your individual debt accounts, and tracking the payments that you've made. Now, the key is, depending on the type of debt that it is, you have to remember that there are instances whereby not all of your payment that you make goes to the principal. So if you have an installment loan, then you know that you're going to have your interest payment and your principal payment. So for me, I track the reduction. So for my loans, like any of my installment loans, I don't take the full payment amount that I've made, even though, I mean, technically kind of, yeah, because I am paying the interest on it, but I take the actual reduction. So let's say, for instance, if I have a $600 payment that I'm making on a loan, but only $500 of it actually reduces the principal, then I'm taking that $500 reduction as the amount of debt that is being paid off, because it's reducing the overall balance. Now, if you wanted to see in total how much debt you've paid, not only just in principal balance, but also in interest, then that way you would track the actual payments that you made to each of your vendors. So if you haven't been doing this for a while, it may be difficult to track, and I'm not sure like how much debts you have, what the types are. Credit cards, it may be easier for you to find, but even if you have installment loans, you should be able to tell that too if you just go in and look at the history. So what I would suggest that you use this time to do, Sherry, is to go into your individual debt accounts online. If you have online profiles, if you don't have online profiles, go and find the bank statements, go and find the statement that you get in the mail each month that lets you know what your balance is, and see if you can take that activity, or go into your actual bank accounts and look at for the year of 2021, how much did you make in debt payments based on your banking activity? And that can be one way. So you can probably start from there and then see how that works. And then again, we're going to check in. So we have 20 minutes left. So keep working, guys.
you can try holiday Broadway yoga flow and plenty of non-hyper-specific workouts too. Download the Peloton app now for 2 months free. presents two truths and a lie. One, Geico can help you save 15% or more on car insurance. Two, the first cheesemakers were
All right, everybody. It is now the top of the hour, so I want to check in and see how you guys are doing. This was a great 25-minute power hour, I hope. So let me pull back up the chat to see where you guys are. I know I have been doing a lot of updates. All right. So let's see. Coach Letitia is saying adding up last month now, did very well last night, did very well last month. Good, Coach Letitia. Yes, good. Coach Letitia is saying, sis, I reported the scam troll in the chat. Be careful, block or remove it. Yes. I think I did see that too. Then I've blocked them as well. So thank you. So Q Scott is saying, yes, loving already, having the projections added to my summary tab. Yay, good. Q Scott is saying, I didn't see your message until after. Sorry. Okay, I did the same and I removed it too. Yes, thank you all for jumping in and saving us from the trolls. Come on now, they off the chain already in the new year. We ain't giving them any attention. Just block them, report them, all that kind of stuff. It's good. All right, so Sherry is saying, do you record/list your debt reduction progress from every expense each month in one location? Track the progress on each debt item and compare it to the previous month. Okay, so Sherry, this is a great question. And the way my brain works, I honestly do multiple iterations of things. And so because my background is accounting, because my background is audit, I naturally have an inclination to verify everything. So I track on a spreadsheet and then I'm like, okay, I want to make sure that it's right. So I then track it in a separate way and I use a different method to come up with it to see if my two balances are going to agree. So like I said, I can be very excessive with mine because just the way my brain works, I like to verify. I like to make sure that things are accurate. And in order for me to do that, I do my calculations in multiple iterations in different ways. And so it's not the same calculation every time. So I could do, and you know what? I was going to save this, but I might as well just go and just show it. Where is it? Okay. All right. I'm getting ready to show this to y'all real quick. Share screen, new share. Here we go. Okay, so if you guys can see this on my screen, let me know. This is my updates for my debt freedom journey. So I track it by year, and then I track it in the cumulative, and then I break it out. So I have several worksheets like this. Now, of course, this is the summary, but my details have like the actual accounts. It has the actual amounts by year, and it has it by category. Now, I'm not going to show it here because it does have like account number references and stuff. So I can't really pull it up live right now. But when I do the other piece, I'm going to be able to black out, you know, some of the personal information or whatever, so that I can show you guys the details. But just for the purposes of this example, this is my debt payoff by year. And each of these amounts are tracked by type. And each of these amounts are also tracked by the actual payments that come out of my account. So I do allocation. So remember I was saying how sometimes, you know, you make a payment, but not all of the payment that you make is going to the reduction of the principal. Some of it could be going to the interest. And if you have a mortgage, some of that is going to your escrow. So I use a separate system. And I mentioned this before in one of my videos a while ago, and I'll try to link it and pin it in this video so that you guys can see it, or put it in the description box. But I use Wave, and Wave is my tracking system that literally feeds all of my account activity into one place. It's a bookkeeping system that I use, and it's easy for me because I'm naturally an accountant, so I can just categorize stuff quick. And I use that to track all of my payments that go out of my account. And then also I break the payment out so that I can see, okay, how much was this was actually a principal reduction? How much of this was an actual interest deduction? How much of this payment was an actual escrow amount? So the system that I use, it's cumulative, of course, because I mean, I had to do some things to kind of start my beginning balance, but I've been using this Wave system for years now. So if this is something that you want me to maybe help you set up, I can do that, but that's going to be like a consulting kind of fee if that's something that you want me to help set up for you. But Wave is amazing for me from my perspective. It's super easy. It automatically feeds. Sometimes we do lose the bank connection, so sometimes you do have to re-sign in or whatever so that it can pull in your banking data. But you also have the option to upload your data manually. So if you go to your accounts, you download your activity in an Excel format, you could upload the Excel doc or whatever the file is into Wave and then do your categorization there. So Sherry, you asked me if I list my debt reduction progress for each and every expense. Yes, I do. I list it for each and every expense. I list it for each and every account. I list it for each and every month. So I have another, in this file, like I said, there's a lot of details, so I can't show it to you now because I know we're live stream. But within this file, and you can see like all of these tabs, I have tabs for days. So you see down here, I have my debt repayment plan number 2 because I had actually expounded on it. So I made copies of the tag. I had my accountability blog. So I've been tracking this. I've been tracking my numbers since 2016. So I have all of my data from when I started my debt freedom journey to say, okay, when I started, how much have I paid off? Each account literally listed out what I paid for that month. So this sheet is very robust. You see right now, I'm already at 100 and something lines, but I have it categorized and it stretches out across all of these columns. So I have that. I have an envelope challenge. This was like a challenge that I was trying to do a while ago to like I don't know, trying to do an envelope system. Envelope system does not work for me because I'm a card person, but I utilize a different method to kind of have the envelope system approach, but using it from a e-perspective, the e-card. Then I have my monthly expenses, and then I have like all this stuff, right? So I have all of these tabs within my file. But yes, I track it by debt type. I track it by everything each and every month, and I have it listed all the way out, tracking all of the payments that I made, any additional income or any additional charges. So I'm literally matching my spreadsheet, and I check and verify against the ending balance that the bank is telling me that I have. So if something is off, then I know maybe it's an error maybe on the bank side, or it could be an error in my calculation somewhere, and I got to find it and fix it. And normally that's what happens, and that's what I end up doing, is figuring it out and getting it aligned. But this is how you do your verification. This is how you do your validations to see, is my stuff calculating up to what the bank is saying? Because sometimes, systems make errors. There's been so many times where I found miscalculations in my interest charges, and they had to fix it and they had to adjust it. So, but again, this is for those of you who are really willing to kind of do that stuff to kind of get into it. So I hope that makes sense, Sherry. If it doesn't, let me know, and I can talk to you maybe. Okay, it's very helpful. Okay, great. Okay, so Coach Letitia is saying, thanks, sis, to Q Scott. Coach Letitia saying, amen. Q Scott is saying, thank Debt Freedom Journey Sheet. Oh, that Debt Freedom Journey Sheet is everything. Thank you. Yeah, and this is just a summary, so y'all can't even see like all the stuff. It's crazy. So yeah, it's awesome. I track everything. So Lisa, hey Lisa, happy New Year, Lisa. Happy New Year. Lisa is saying, is this a template that you sell? Sorry, I'm late. So for this template, now this one per se, I don't, and I'm gonna say that the reason why I don't, because it can be so customized and personalized, and it requires a lot of manual entry. So if I can't give you a template that won't, because when you look at it, I'll be honest, it may seem convoluted. It may seem like a lot. You're not seeing the whole details of this, because these numbers that were in the file, they feed in from the other cells. So just because you see the summary here, you have to have the data in the other cells in order to pull that in. So I could probably potentially create one that is sellable, but for the purposes of this debt tracker, this one that I showed you guys, because it's so customized, I don't sell it. But I do have other forms, other types that I could sell, and I'll do a preview on those so that you guys can see it. And if you want it, that I can give to you. Well, not I can give to you, but that I can sell to you, because I normally do that as a part of my coaching programs. So that, that's available. I'll do a separate video on that if that's something that you guys are interested in. So Q Scott is saying, I still use Expensify for tracking. Do you think I'm still good with this one? Similar benefits of that of Wave. So let me ask you, Q Scott, Expensify. And I'm not familiar with Expensify, but I do know that it's something that, a lot of people do use. So I haven't actually gone into the system and used it, but does it serve similar to like a bookkeeping system? Meaning you can categorize, because what Wave does, I can do everything. I can categorize I can scan my receipts. I can categorize my receipts. I can set up, chart of accounts. I can run reports. I can instantly get my net worth statement instantly. As long as I'm putting my numbers in there, it's automatically going to tell me what my net income is. It's going to tell me my balance sheet. It's going to tell me all of that. So again, my question for you, Q Scott, will be, does Expensify, and it depends on what you need. So if you just want to use Expensify for tracking, then I say, way to go. And if you're able to not only track it, but categorize it, maybe even run reports. So are you able to export data out of there? So based on the expenses that you put in, are you able to categorize them and then get a report based on what was categorized? And this is what I'm going to show you all as it relates to what I did with Wave. So if Expensify can allow you to do that, then I would say continue to use Expensify, Q Scott. But if you want different alternatives, if you want different resources for you to be able to do analysis, and if it can export data for you so that you can plug it into a Google Sheet or an Excel spreadsheet so that it can run the analytics and stuff like that, then I would definitely say if it can do that, keep it. But if you want that additional feature and Expensify does not have it, then maybe you could consider switching over. But it just really depends on what you want and what your preferences are. Now, okay, so Sherry is saying this is very helpful. I need to start doing something like this. Thank you so much. You're so welcome. You're so welcome. And like I said, I'll do a separate video to kind of share, or maybe even do a separate walkthrough to kind of share what that looks like. That's not so complex, because I'm not going to lie, mine is complex. I'm not going to lie, it's complex. I got a lot going on because of all of the checks and stuff that I do inside of mine. All right. Now, let's see. Q Scott is saying, hey to Lisa. All right, y'all just celebrating each other. Good. I love it. Q Scott is saying, yes, categorizing, scanning receipts, even from my phone, year-to-date totals, etc. Yes. Yes, it ain't nothing like scanning receipts from your phone. I love it. I love it. And I'm so glad, because Wave didn't have that feature at first, but they just incorporated it not too long ago. So when they incorporated the scanning feature, I just got so excited, because I'm like, yes, this is what I need. Because not only that, us as business owners, especially if we're business owners, you want to be able to maintain your receipts. So you can scan it and have your physical copy of it. That way you'll always have the details and it'll always be there. You don't have to worry about receipts fading and all that kind of stuff. So it's the way to go. It's the way to go. And I mentioned that during the Vet Your Spending Challenge too, for your holiday shopping, or when you buy things and you can't remember what you spent money on or what you bought, scan the receipt so that you know what you spent your money on. So when it's time for us to do this challenge again, you're going to be on point. Y'all remember I said that. Okay. So here we go. So Happy New Year. So Travesla is saying, wow, this is all new and I'm soaking up so much. And I know I'm going to need consulting. I'm just so excited. I'm working off debt this year and learning to track everything. Yes, track everything. Tracking will save your life. I'm telling y'all, it will save your life. Yes, yes, yes. I'm so excited that you're here, Travesla. I know you saw the comment. You commented on one of the videos, and I'm so glad that I asked you if you were coming today, because this is just the fun stuff, the fun stuff, the fun stuff. So let me show you guys real quick, because we have another 25-minute workout session. Let me know where you guys are. That's what I wanted to ask. Let me know where you guys are, how much you've gotten done. Where do you feel like you're at a stopping point? Do you feel like you still have some more to do? Let me know what you were able to accomplish in that 25 minutes. And while you're putting that inside of the chat, then while you're putting that inside of the chat, I'm going to share with you what I did, what I used my 25 minutes for, and then we'll jump into another 25-minute window. All right. So let me pull up what I did. So what I was doing, you guys, I was actually going into my Wave account and updating my categories and updating my sheets. So remember, I was sharing with you all that I do projections. And so my projections allows me to kind of see where I stand and what I could potentially plan to spend, or what I can project that I'm going to spend in this coming year. And the best way for you to come up with your projections is by basing it off of actual activity. So in order for you to be able to have your projections, and in order for you to be able to have your, let me stop sharing. In order for you to be able to have your actuals, you have to update it. And this is the reason why I leverage software, external software, to kind of do this calculation and this tracking for me, so that I can have all of my numbers in one place. Granted, some of my accounts don't allow me to connect it automatically to Wave. So I have to go the option of going into the account, downloading the actual activity as an Excel spreadsheet or as a CVS file or CSV file, and then uploading that CSV file into Wave and then doing the categorization there. It doesn't take me long. So it doesn't take me long to do it, but it's just a matter of going through all of the expenses to see what was this for. One of the things that Wave does is, as it recognizes the pattern of the expense type that's coming in and what you're categorizing as, the next time that expense comes in, it'll automatically categorize it for you. So that saves me a lot of time. So the only thing that I'm doing is I'm going through it and making sure that categorization is correct, because I have accounts coming in from my mom's side. I have expenses that are going out for my mom's side, and I also have that same vendor. So sometimes there could be a mix up where any of those bill payments may go under my utilities, but a portion of that should actually be under my mom's expense category. So I separate it so that I can know how much am I spending on mom's stuff and how much am I spending on my stuff, because this comes into effect when, of course, for me to be able to prove, because I'm able to claim my mother because I provide more than 50% of her care, like in terms of her housing and stuff, her needs. I take care of more than 50% of her support. So because of that, I can claim my mother. That's a tax tip. If y'all ain't know that, tax tip, I'm trying to tell y'all, change the game. So I track everything so that I can be able to support that. So in the event, if an audit ever comes and they're saying, well, how are you claiming your parent? Can you prove that you've paid over 50% of the support? I sure can. And I got a whole schedule that can show you exactly what I paid, how much I paid, when it was paid. So for me, I'm all about verification. I'm all about support. I'm all about sufficiency. And because that's what I learned. You got to be able to back your stuff up. You can't just talk about it. You got to be able to back it up. You got to be able to back it up. So when I pulled my list up, let me share this one. Where is it? I'm going to just use this one as an example because I haven't started it yet. I'm going through the process of categorizing my stuff now in Wave. So what it's going to look like is this. Let me share my screen. All right, y'all still with me? All right. All right, I'm gonna share this one as an example so that you guys can see it. So this is an example of my expense analytics. So why I'm updating my Wave account and making sure that all of my categories are correct and the expense allocations are correct is because I use the expenses to build out my projections. So you see all of these expense categories right here. These are all of the categories that I have set up in Wave. So every single transaction that I have is going to be classified in one of these buckets. And if there's a new expense that comes up that I may not necessarily have, then I'll add it. I could always add it inside of Wave. Now, what happens is, as I'm categorizing the activity, of course, the balances are accumulating. So what I do an export of the balances for that particular year or for the activity for that particular year. And then I do average. So I say, okay, based on this category, what was the average amount that I spent per month? So that's looking at the entire year's expense, taking it by 12, dividing it by 12 so that you can figure out what that average is. Now, again, all of this is fed in because y'all know that's how my brain works, y'all. That's how my brain works. So I have like all of these analytics up here. I have all of these things and it feeds into this file up here. So once I'm able to do that, you guys see I got the buffer. I don't play. So my thing is I always incorporate some form of buffer. So for this one, I have 10% to be an additional buffer for each category. Now you can change your buffer. You can make your buffer be 15%. You can make your buffer be 20%. You can make your buffer be whatever it is. But you should also make sure that there is a way for you to be able to see, based on this category, what is it that I am expecting or projecting to pay or cost, right? So 15% buffer, 20% buffer, 10% buffer, you can just choose your own buffer. So based on that, it's giving me the calculation. I chose 10%. So 10% of whatever the average is going to be my buffer. And then it's going to give me what my projected monthly expense is. So I got formulas for days up in here, you guys. So, and again, I do a separate thing where I'll say, okay, based on what I've spent in the prior year, is this something that I need to reduce? Is this a category expense that I need to sustain, or this is a category expense that I need to eliminate, period? So based on what I decide what my inclusion period is going to be, is going to determine what my projected annual expense is going to be. So these will be the projected monthly budgets, and then this multiplied by 12 will give me my projected annual expenses. But if I tag something to say eliminate, then I'm going to take it out of, it's not going to add up, or it's not going to calculate as a projected monthly budget, because my goal is to not incur the expense. Is that making sense, you guys? Okay. So now this form is something that I could customize for you. This is something that I could sell, but you have to make sure that you have your numbers and you'll be able to have your categories to put in there so that you can populate it and it can automatically do the math for you. So the only thing that you would have to do is put in, if you decided to eliminate the expense, if you decided to keep it, whatever the case may be. So these are just examples that's in here. But if you look at it from this perspective, it really helps you to break it out and do the math. So the budget projections piece, and we had the manual analytics to kind of figure out what the averages are and all that good stuff, your major buckets, and then looking at the snapshot of everything. So these are going to be your projections. And then once your actual expenses come through, you plug in what the actual expense was for each month. Okay. So this is my shell that I use for an example. These aren't like real numbers, but I just thought it would be good to kind of show you guys what it looks like and how I'm using the activity from Wave, what I'm using it for, and why it's such an important step for me to do, because it allows me to do the analytical side, which is the stuff that I love. All right. So was that a good example? Okay. All right. So all right. So Q Scott is saying, yes, reports. I have never tried to export the data to a Google Sheet yet, though. Yeah, make sure that you try that, Q Scott. See if you can do that, because that'll definitely be helpful, especially with the example that I just gave in terms of the categories. So if it can spit out a report that'll give you the balances or the cumulative year to date, or not even cumulative, or even the year to date for each of those categories, you could definitely utilize something similar to the spreadsheet that I just showed you, of how I do the calculations to do the analytics to get my projections automatically. So it'll do it for me by setting it up that way. So yeah, try that out. Now, Q Scott is saying, okay, gotcha, thanks. Sherry is saying, I've made progress. Now I'm working on what was spent this week. Very good, very good. What was spent this week? Yes, what was spent this week? Y'all, I got so excited when I did my numbers. I just could not believe how much I've paid off in a year. Like, I was floored. I had to go back and triple check. I'm like, are we sure about this? I had to go back and literally those were the numbers. Those were the numbers. So floored. So if you guys didn't see the amount, I'm not going to announce it because I'm doing a separate video, but it was on the screen when I showed you my debt report by year. Lisa saying yes. Trevessa saying yes. Janae, hey Janae, happy New Year. So glad to see you in this room. Woo-woo-woo. You're so welcome. You're so welcome. Blessings to you as well. Lisa saying yes, I need to start doing the buffers. Yes, the buffers will save your life, you guys. Include the buffers, because that way when you have your buffers, you'll always know that you you will have less of a chance of going over. And not to say that you want to include a buffer so that you could be able to like spend all of it. The idea is for you to be able to have enough just in case. But even if there's a difference between what you budgeted, including the buffers, versus the actual, you're going to repurpose those monies. So if you were in the Bet Your Spending Challenge, you know that was one of the things that we talked about. What are you going to do with the difference? How are you going to take advantage of the difference? Those should be savings somewhere, some way, shape, or form. You should be able to repurpose whatever the difference is. So think about that. Think about what you plan to do and what you plan to spend, but don't look at it from a perspective to say, oh, I have all of this to spend, so I'm gonna spend it. No, your goal is to still spend as less as possible, but just be in that space of being mindful of how you spend. So if you have some excess, then you know how to repurpose those excesses. Okay. All right. So yes. Okay. Q Scott is saying, wow, this is great to see. I thought I was analytical, LOL. A-type personality club too. Yes, I am very much A-type. I'm very much A-type. It's crazy. And for me, it's just, it's crazy because it just comes up. Like as I'm in the flow of stuff, as I'm in it, it just like, boo, I'm like, okay, what can I do to figure this out? And I just create it. And it could just come to me so quickly because I'm just constantly thinking of how can I make this easier for me next time? And then what is it that I want to know? And so this is the power of asking yourself questions, because when you ask yourself questions, it can help you dig into the numbers a little bit differently to figure it out. Even if you're not a numbers person, you have to have a sense of questions that you want to ask yourself. What does this mean? Because it's not just about you scheduling your money out, scheduling this, scheduling that. You really want to look at how are you spending your money and why, and what is this activity actually doing for you? Because when we go into that space of understanding, that's where it's really going to be able to unlock for us to allow it to be a little bit more clear and more intentional and more purposeful in terms of why we do these necessary actions. Because sometimes people don't want to feel like budgeting. They just don't. They don't want to feel like budgeting, and that's okay. But for me, I have a reason to, because I want to understand my behaviors, and I want to understand how it's shifting, and I want to understand why is this way now? What happened? So you guys know that I just said that my number, the amount that I paid off was so high this year that I almost didn't believe it. And I was like, wait a minute, let me go back. Am I sure? Did I double count something? No, I ain't double count nothing. And I triple checked it and the numbers were still it. So you know what my next step is going to be? What did I do differently in 2021 that allowed me to almost double the amount that I paid off in a year? Because on average, I was paying off maybe 40 something, 50 something $1,000 a year in debt. And for 2021, I almost doubled it. So I'm like, what happened? So because I'm constantly thinking of what happened, I'm going to go back, revisit the details, and I'm going to go back, especially me going through this process to see how did this happen? How did this happen? How was I able to do that? So yes. All right. So Janae is saying yes. Sherry is saying congrats to you. Thank you. Sherry is saying I saw it. Q Scott is saying me too. And then Lisa is saying right. All right. So we are now at a point where we're going to do our next 25-minute bunch. Now, if you guys feel like you don't have anything else to do, you feel like you've looked at everything that you want to, feel free to drop off. But before you drop off, just let me know, what was this experience like for you? And then like say, what do you have left to do? And then what will you do to what do you have left to do? And then what will you do in the coming days to get it done? So that's what I want to be able to hear from you all before you drop off. But I'm getting ready to do my next 25 minutes. So hopefully you guys will stay on with me. If you want to do more, continue on looking at the analytics, looking at what you've just gone through, finishing up what you just gone through. If you haven't gotten through it all, if you're just jumping in, you got another 25-minute block to budget with us right now in the process. And I'm going to go ahead and pull up the screen so that we can get our in action time number 2 started. Are y'all ready? Or are y'all ready? All right. So 25 minutes is on the clock. and we'll be finishing up right before 10 o'clock. So let's get started. I'm going to play the music so that we can have a little bit of background noise as we do this. All right.
If you're a content creator, you really need to start using artists' royalty-free music and sound effects licensing platforms. Social media later. Later, social.
All right, everybody. That concludes our second 25-minute block. I hope that you guys have got into action. Let me know where you are. Let me know where you are. Let me know where you are if you're still with me. This has been a great window. I had some observations while you guys are planning to share. I had some observations while going through my analytics and just all of the different accounts that I have. And what I realized that I could possibly do differently going forward in this new year. So one of the things that really helps me out a lot with doing these exercises is, like I said, the ideas that come with it. So as I'm working through something, I definitely have a sense of feeling, how can I improve this? How can I make this better? How can I make this more efficient? So one of the things that I want to focus on specifically in this year is setting up my normal recurring processes for simplicity and efficiency. Now, what I mean by this is I know that I have to budget. I know that I have to pay bills. I know that I should be setting aside funds to pay myself with consistently. I know that there's a normal routine that we must go through in this time of life, right? As a part of adulthood. So I said to myself, what if I changed my process a little bit this year going forward and change my approach in terms of having all of my bills set up on auto pay. Now, previously, I didn't like to do the auto pay just because there were only certain accounts that I would do auto pay for, and certain ones I was like, no, I need to look at it so that I could check for discrepancies before I pay it. But if I want to be simplistic in my approach, I said, why not? And this could also help for you guys if you guys may have difficulties or may have challenges with maybe paying your bills on time. What about just setting up everything on auto pay, but still having your dates in which you actually look at the bills for discrepancies and then bring it up at that point if there is a discrepancy, so that way the account can be credited? Because even when I look at it from this perspective, the things that I don't pay automatically, I look at the bill, and if there is a discrepancy, I call. So even though I call, that's not going to change the bill that's already been issued. So at the end of the day, I still have to pay whatever it is, and maybe they'll credit the next bill. So if I'm still going to keep in the process of reviewing and scrubbing, because I'm all about validation, I don't want to be overcharged. So I'm looking at my stuff. I look at the details of my bills and see if there were any spikes. And this will help you too when you're looking at your expenses from month to month. This is similar to what Sherry brought up a little bit earlier on in the live, where she was asking me, do I track like the amounts that I pay on my debts month to month? It's the same approach when you're looking at the fluctuations between your expenses month to month. So if you have a bill that's normally $60 and then all of a sudden the bill is $80 or $90, Your job is to now look at the previous bill, look at the details of the previous bill and the current bill to see what changed. And if there was something that changed that you're not aware of or doesn't seem right to you based on the terms and agreements that you may have set out with that vendor, then it's your job at that point to call them, to ask them what was the reason for the increase, and then see, this is where your negotiation muscle can come into play, where you're asking, okay, what can I do to lower this bill, right? Because y'all know that's my thing. That's what I do. I say, listen, I don't have it like that. I might have to cut it off. So what you gonna do to help me out? So it's so important that as you do this, you look at the details. You look at the details of your bills as well. And so this is why I say your budgeting process can encompass a lot of steps, not just mapping out the numbers, but making sure that the actual expenses and the charges that you're incurring is making sense for you and your household based on your agreements. So I hope that this is helping you all and what you've been able to kind of do and take advantage of during this window. I wanted this to be in a space of action, not just me speaking, but also allowing you to be able to do the work with me. So with that, I want to kind of do a brief round robin for everyone who's still here, who's still live, to let me know what you've got done as a result of participating in today's Budget with Me live stream. And what else do you have left to do? And you don't have to be too, detailed, but just high level, if you want to share high level, what you've been able to accomplish, what you plan to do next. And then the last question is, when will you come back and do it? So when will you finish it out? So for me, I still have quite a few more things to do. I want to finish categorizing the rest of my expenses and looking at them and making sure that they're in the proper buckets so that I can export that data and put it into the projection sheet that I shared with you guys, that I showed you guys a little bit earlier. So that way I can have my projections for the entire 2022. Y'all hear me? I'm gonna have my projections for the whole year. And then as I'm paid and as the expenses are actually going out the door, I'm updating the actual columns so that I can calculate my budgets versus my actuals by month so that I can see how much I was off or how much I wasn't off and, do the analytics behind that side. So that's my next step. So when I plan to come back and do it, I'm going to continue working, but I'm going to cut off the live, but I'm going to continue working for the next maybe hour to see how much more I can power through and get done. And then I'm going to take a break and take care of some things around the house and take care of some things at my mom's house. Then I'm going to come back and work on some other projects. And so for me to finish up this project or this process, I'll probably pick it back up on Tuesday or maybe Monday night. I'll probably pick it up Monday night, and then I should be finished by Friday. My goal is to be finished by Friday. So that way, when I have my next budget meeting, I can focus on something else. So that's going to be my plan. Let me know if you appreciate it, if you like this Budget with Me process. I wanted to be able to do something different for you guys. And it's not just going to be budgeting. I'm going to be doing different live streams for different topics. So just stay tuned for that. Stay tuned for that. And so we can do this work together. All right. So let's see. I see some comments popping in. So Lisa H. Hey, Lisa. So good to see you, Lisa H. Good. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Happy New Year. Blessings to you and your family. Thank you. You're so welcome. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Happy New Year. Blessings to you and your family as well. Travesla is saying that I'm still with you. I was able to put together a binder portfolio in this time to know what I need to get going on to stay on track. Yes. I love it. I love it. And so Travesla, I want to encourage you to keep that binder portfolio with you, maybe not with you at all times, but in close proximity, depending on how big your portfolio is, because this is something that's very important for you to collect the information, collect the strategy, but this is your game plan, right? So now that you've identified what you have to start doing and what you're going to start doing, keep adding to that portfolio by actually executing on the steps. So I'm super, super, super excited for you. I'm glad that you were able to put that together during this time. So great job for being in action. Lisa is saying, Lisa Smiles in the building, is saying, yes, all my bills are on auto pay already. Yes, I love it. And I'm going to share this with you guys too. So and this is a strategy that I'm going to use, which I'm actually going to use within the next hour, is if I set everything up on auto pay, I still want to make sure that I have enough in the bank to cover those auto drafts once they come out. Some of my auto drafts are on my credit card because I want to get the points. And some of the auto drafts aren't allowed to be on credit card. So it has to come from a bank account. So for those that have to come out of a bank account, of course, it's linked to my bank account. So what I said I was going to do, because we know that sometimes there could be lags, like there could be lag and timing of when something may auto draft and you may not have your paycheck hit at that time. So sometimes you may have to wait a couple of days to pay something. So what I plan to do is set up a cushion in my spending account, like the spending account that I pay all of my bills out of. I'm going to make sure that it's going to have enough to always cover 1 month in advance for all of my bills. So this means because we're at the first of the month, I'm going to identify how much my bills are on average based on what I'm spending, woo. I'm going to take that amount for 1 month and have that as my starting fund. Now that's going to be my starting fund so that it can cover my auto pays without me having a timing discrepancy because maybe I didn't get paid yet and my deposit hasn't hit. Now, I'm still going to be budgeting, and I'm still going to be budgeting by paycheck, just like in my budget outline where I'm budgeting by paycheck. And I'm going to have that money still going into my account, and I'm going to have it still budgeted. So that way my spend account will it can never go into the negative. You see what I'm saying? So I want to make sure that I'm positioning the cushion there because I need it up there up front just in case of timing. And then I'm still making sure that the budgets based on the actual paychecks that I'm going to be getting throughout this year is still being allocated and going into that space too, so that I won't have any issues with inadvertent overdraft fees. Okay. All right. So that's my strategy that I'm sharing with y'all that I'm going to do. So I just gave that away. So Sherry is saying, thank you so much for this live session. I realized I need to add my investment account to the weekly balances. I haven't been tracking it like I should. It never crossed my mind until now. Yes, you got to get those investment accounts in there as well. And again, this is going to help you with your net income, your net worth statement, because even your investment accounts, that's an asset. So that ties into your balance sheet. So remember, I was telling you guys in my Wave account has everything. So all of my assets, so it can instantly give me my net worth because I have my equity true ups that I do on a quarterly basis based on the assets that I have. Has the value increased? Has the value decreased? I'm updating those on a quarterly basis so that I can get a snapshot of what my net worth is in quarterly intervals. But then I'm also looking at my retirement accounts. I'm looking at my stock accounts. I'm looking at all of those things, and I'm making sure that it's being updated in my Wave account so that when I'm ready to run my net worth statement or my equity statement, it's there and I can see it at least on a quarterly basis where I stand. That's just what I do. You don't have to do it that frequently, but Sherry is absolutely right in saying that the investment account, she wasn't tracking it. Yeah, you want to be able to kind of see where you stand, but I do want to caution you when it comes to the investment accounts because there could be fluctuations depending on what's happening in the market and things of that nature. So if you aren't, depending on the type of investment account that you have, like if someone else is managing it for you, then that's another thing. But if you have other stock accounts like Robinhood or Acorns or any of the, those things where you kind of do on your own, that's something that you can track as well. But if you have something that's like TD, Ameritrade, or something that you're manually doing it yourself, you want to be careful of monitoring those so closely if you aren't in the space of actually trading for profit. I'm hoping that I'm making sense here, but what I'm trying to say is I don't want to get you emotionally worked up where if you check your account, you check your investment account and all of a sudden it drops, then you feel like, oh my gosh, I'm losing money. and then you go on a frenzy. So I want you to be cautious there, but definitely make sure that you are checking up on your investment accounts as well. All right, so Sherry is saying definitely going to do better with tracking this account. Very good. Lisa Smile says worked on going through all of my bills for the month and checking all of my bank accounts. Yay! So let me ask you, did anyone do the bank comparison at the ending of the year? I did mine, y'all. I did mine. And mine's, I think about a little over 15% of my earnings was actually saved in my bank account this year. So that's still not bad, especially considering that I paid off almost $85,000 of debt in 2021 alone. That's huge for me. So when I think about that and I think about the numbers, I'm like, okay, I can't even get mad if I'm at 16% right now. I feel good about that. So I want to know if anybody else did the comparison. It's very helpful to kind of see where you stand. But like Lisa was saying, going through and checking all of your bank accounts to see what are my balances, and then looking at all of my bills that are coming for the month. Perfect. Sherry's saying I have to create a template to track all of my expenses in one location. I also need to add up all December expenses and 2021 expenses. Plan to finish it tomorrow. Thanks again. This was very helpful. Very good. So Sherry, you want an Excel template to track all of your expenses. So you're saying that you don't want to leverage online software. Just say yes or no so that I'm clear. But yes, if you need to create a template, and if you can't create a template, that's absolutely good. You can use this model of making sure that you're categorizing stuff, because you can do it in a spreadsheet. You can. It's just going to take, it's going to take more manual effort, but you can do it. You can definitely do it by just looking at what you have, categorizing your stuff based on your actual expenses on your bank statements and all of that, and then putting in those amounts and then adding up what you've expended. And that's why it's so important to do this on a consistent basis, because it won't feel like it's so much if you're trying to do it at the ending of the year or at the very beginning of the year. Okay. All right. So Q Scott is saying 2022 budget template pretty much updated. Needed to add an additional tab or two shortly after a few new savings or upcoming investment accounts, and apply formulas to my debt journey tab. Yay! This was awesome. Good. Yes, I know Q Scott is also budget or template savvy, so she loves Google Sheets too. So I'm super excited that you're able to whip yours together and update yours and just make it be as robust as possible so that it can work for you, because you want it to work for you. So great. Thank you. Sherry is saying I need to track my retirement account too. Thanks for mentioning that too. Thanks. You're so welcome. And it's being managed by a credit union. Okay, so you're good. So if it's been managed by a credit union, that's good. Okay, yeah, but you still want to track it. So you're good with tracking yours then. Q Scott is saying I will be spending another hour on it today. The goal is to wrap up by midweek. Good, great goal. Sherry is saying no, I haven't done it yet. Not right now. So I think that's not right now. You're not doing online, which is totally fine. Yep. Okay. Yep. So you can utilize the process of doing it through the Excel spreadsheet, using it, creating your own templates, making it your own so that it works for you. If there is any questions or any specifics that you have, or if you want one to be custom built, custom designed, I can help with those services as well. Again, that's more so like on the consulting side, because it does take time to kind of build these workbooks out. But yes. And Q Scott is saying, yes, I do, LOL, except those dang pivot tables. Oh, I love pivot tables. Pivot tables are like the best thing to summarize like data that's in a whole bunch of sheets. Like, I love it because instantly it could just whoop. So I love pivot tables. So I do leverage pivot tables a lot with summarizing stuff. So good. Okay, so we're at 10:15. We have literally spent 2 hours because we did start late. We were a little bit late starting. So we're at the 2-hour mark. I want to thank you guys for joining me today for our Budget with Me Live. And I want to remind you that we will be continuing to do these types of scenarios coming forward. So be sure to stay on the lookout for those as we progress through. And I want to remind you all that your financial prosperity awaits you, and so does your financial sanity. And so with that, y'all know what to do. Get to work. The Debt Demolisher TV with Sophia Melone.